What happens when a daughter finally says,
I won't sacrifice myself for your love anymore?
what if the only way to find yourself is to walk away from everything you were promised?
So I think she kept me between 10 and 18, and that is a way to control me because she can't control me at 40. So I have to be in this mentality of a little girl, which you never grow up and you never get your identity because you're trying to people please them.
It was survival disguised as love. It teaches you to overfunction, to please, put others before your own needs, to silence your needs just to keep the peace.
So I gave up the money, but I've also given up 42 years of my life dedicated to my parents' foundation. She said, Wendy, I have to tell you, your mom cut you out of the foundation permanently. She yells at me and says, I'm cutting you out entirely. And I knew at that moment I was cut out of everything. It's that pivotal moment. And I'm like, nobody in the world worth being controlled by another person.
But what happens after the breaking point?
Can you really rebuild a life when your identity was never fully your own?
How do you find your voice when it's been silenced for decades?
And is it ever too late to become the woman you were always meant to be?
Today's guest, Wendy Adamson, knows this journey too well.
So stay tuned, because this episode is for you.
Welcome to Empowering Women in Conversations, podcast to empower and uplift women by providing a safe space for them to share their stories and experiences and encourage the strength, resilience, and power of women. If you are tired of putting others' needs before your own, leading to burnout and resentment, and you are ready to transform and create relationships that are supportive rather than draining, join us on this journey of women overcoming adversities and achieving their true empowerment. Here's your host, a licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval.
Welcome back to Empowering Women in Conversations with me, your host, Anita Sandoval. And today is part 2 of a truly special series. And if you caught part 1, we spoke with the kind and supportive partner behind the scenes, Shane Adamson. And today we're going to hear from the woman whose story, strength, and creative brilliance are helping women reconnect with who they really are. Wendy Adamson is the founder of Wendy Adamson Portrait, a luxury photography experience designed for women 45 and over. She captures the power, the resilience, and the unapologetic beauty of women who overcame so much. Wendy, welcome to the show. I'm so honored to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. There's so much to share.
I want our audience to know, because they hear photography, 45. Oh my goodness. I see your work on your website. You talk to me about it. And I'd love to start with your work and what inspired you to begin the Wendy Adamson Photography Studio.
That is a question, and that is like my journey in a question. So I grew up with a mother that was an international speaker. She was a motivational speaker. She trained girls from Miss USA from Texas. She had a winning streak of training that they won. Texas won Miss USA in 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89,
Wow.
which catapulted her new career into empowering women from all that she learned helping these beauty queens win Miss USA. It was like an internal love of self, love of God that you could see in their eyes. I grew up watching her do this. I was mesmerized by her beauty, her stature, the way she carried herself. And I wanted to emulate her. And always, I had parents that were very successful, put together. And my dad had a heavy construction business, and he would do roads in California. And my parents were my idols. And as I got older, I wanted to be like my mother, and she ended up having a camp for young girls for 23 years that I was the videographer and the photographer, that I would go in and I would take all the footage from the week and put it all together on Friday. But it was this camp that young girls could come in and do service projects every day, and at night we did all these fun activities like American Idols, and we would
Oh,
have
I love
guides come
that.
in and they would sing and the girls would all have fun. But then the next day we're like taking the Boys and Girls Club and sitting on the floor and reading with them, and I would be videotaping it all. And then we would have special needs ladies come in and we'd have princess parties. And then my mom had a camp for women called A New You, and that was held in Hawaii, that I would go fly out there and help her with teaching. I worked for Weight Watchers at the time, so I was teaching people about weight and eating well and taking care of yourself, and I would watch her, motivating these women, and everyone was so happy, and I just was so excited to do this. I was trained to take over the foundation. And that's just, I had kids, and during the young time of raising my kids, that's when I was doing all the photography and videography in the summers.
Okay.
And I was just excited. And then slowly things shifted. We moved to Texas. My mom moved with us. She bought a home 5 minutes down the street.
Yeah.
And I was finding that it's very interesting to look back. Everything that I did well, my mom wanted it to elevate her. And I never really kind of understood that. But as she moved to Texas, it got more intense that I don't want you to be a mother. Your kids are resilient, both can take care of themselves. You need to take care of me. I'm training you. You are going to
Wow.
be running the foundation, and this is how it goes. So I was giving up my entire life for my parents and this vision that I had always wanted to be part of this family foundation. My parents were very wealthy. I knew I didn't have to work in a regular sense, and that I would be taken care of while I get to inspire women and help them. And it was just exciting, however it landed
Yeah.
would be okay. Like financially, I would be okay. So I gave up my life for it. And my mom, at times would say, "You owe me. You owe your dad, and I don't pay you. This is just like your calling." Kind of like Prince Harry,
Wow.
royal family. This is your calling and you do it. My parents were I grew up Catholic, and then we changed to Mormonism when I was 12 years old. So
Okay.
we were Mormon. I really enjoyed being Mormon. Like as a kid, it was really
Yeah.
family friendly, and it was just a great experience for me. But as we got into this thing, I started like noticing the pageantry, kind of going back to the 1984 Footloose movie, that she walks in and he's doing the big thing on the stage.
Wow.
I started noticing the pageantry, and like I would be videotaping. She's like, "I need for you to be 6 o'clock in the morning videotaping me, because I need to have this all on video for posterity and later, and you can show this later on when you are running the foundation." So I'm like, okay, I started to just clue in on things. We had a fight in Hawaii once that I said, everybody else gets lays, like Hawaiian floral lays. You gave them to everybody, but not to me. And
Mm,
everyone got to go to this special banquet, and why didn't I get invited?
mm,
And that
mm.
was a big fight, that she said, "Everything's all about you. I did everything for you." And she turned into like this like witchy. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "I didn't ask for that. I just relaying to get invited." And it just
Wow.
all these things were like starting to come together.
I love how you said that because, some of the patterns for narcissistic mothers and characteristics, I mean, that was huge what you unloaded. There was so much there. One, lack of empathy. They're minimizing, dismissing your feelings, wanting that lay, controlling and manipulative behavior, wanting to control you instead of you, going into your vision of what you wanted. No, you have to do what I want and what I told you. I brought you into this world so you could become what I want you to become. And then the conditional love and approval. Like if you have to perform and do what I say in order to get my approval and love. And the other one, competitiveness with your own children. And, is that dynamic of wanting to compete. And, one of the biggest characteristics too is the need for control over image. And wow, just in that
And the image of their
conversation.
children.
Yes, because it's a part of an extension of them.
Absolutely.
That's crazy because I mean, it's literally you mentioned in that one story several characteristics of what embodies a narcissistic mother.
No, it's little. I would have to dress up
Mhm.
fully to go on an airplane. Like everything was perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, that's just my world growing up.
How old were you when it started and you said, "You know what? I'm going to venture off from what my mother
Yeah,
wants."
so then I'm like in Hawaii and she's coming out here and we're starting to see problems with I can't parent because she needs for me to do counselor videos for her. And when she flew into Texas, like her house was 5 miles down the street, but she lived somewhere else and you have to think she has lots of money. So she can like do whatever she wants. So when she flies in, I have to make sure all the lights are on, the fountain is going, the music is going, all of her food is in the refrigerator, everything's perfect, and I have to be there for her. So when my husband says, "Oh, where are you?" My mom calls, I'm out the door and down the street because I know if I don't do it correctly, something bad will happen, even though you don't know and you don't want to poke the bear, but deep inside you feel it. And there was something that you said earlier that made me think of something. My mom conditioned me that I could never be older than about 18 years old. So I think she kept me between 10 and 18, and that is a way to control me. If I'm 40, that is unacceptable because she can't control me at 40. So I have to be in this mentality of a little girl, which you never grow up and you never get your identity because you're trying to people please them. I didn't choose this, but my mom, like, okay, so my husband writes her a letter and says, "Barbara, this is unacceptable. Wendy needs to be a mother. She's scared of you." And my mom, so Shane says, I wrote this letter and I went, oh my gosh, if my mom reads this letter, it's death.
Oh.
So I called her up and I'm like, "Mom, do not read the letter," which of course to a narcissist, they beeline to
Of course.
and I'm rushing in my car to get over there, and she read the letter, and she's like, "You're not scared of me?" And I'm like, "I can't say that I'm scared of her, you know? Oh,
Yeah.
no, not oh, he must be off his rocker when he wrote that or that, because 'cause I'm playing sides. I'm
Yeah,
trying
you're people pleasing.
I'm trying to, like, be accepted by Shane and her, and I just don't know how to handle it." So she's like,
Yes.
"You must divorce him." And so she goes into this whole thing of, like, finding an attorney and saying, Shane is too controlling. With that letter, it has a couple twists and turns, but she hires a psychiatrist friend to fly out to Texas,
Wow.
and she sits down with me and says, "Wendy, you cannot play two sides. You have
Yes.
to pick your mother or you pick Shane, your husband, but you can't have both sides. So you need to pick one right now. What is it?" And I'm like, "Shane," because I would do anything to let go of the control of my mother. I didn't realize in that period of time that that decision would change my life forever in such a good way now, but in such a scary way then. And to put me in a position like that, looking back at it, I'm like, you can't say that to somebody, but right. So I walked down the stairs and my mom's like, "What is your decision?" Like she knew. And I said, "I'm going back with Shane." And she looks at me and screams at the top of her lungs. She yells at me and says, "I'm cutting you out entirely." So she,
Wow.
and I knew at that moment I was cut out of everything, the money, and my parents have a lot of money. So it's that pivotal moment, and I'm like, no money in the world
Yeah.
worth being controlled by another person. Like,
Mhm.
even looking at the Declaration of Independence,
Yes. Yeah.
you cannot control another person. And being in a narcissistic relationship, especially your mother that you love,
Mhm.
like I was a slave.
Yeah. Yeah. She was supposed to be the nurturer. She was supposed to be allowing you to shine and break free and be authentically you. But instead, she used you as a puppet to do what she wanted without consideration that you were your own person. And that
Yeah.
was soul erosion to you.
That's what they don't allow, and that's the pivotal moment that I said, "I can't," I'm moving on, and that was the Frozen song.
Yes, Elsa.
Yeah, I would
Let it
listen to
go.
that over and over and over, like, I'm building my strength, and I have a dragon now that I just unleashed.
Yeah.
As a little child, you know that you're not supposed to swing the mobile, and my
Yeah.
my brother said, "There's consequences for your actions, Wendy." I said, "You know what, John? There's also consequences for yours." And
Oh, yes. It's like having golden handcuffs.
yep, it's
Yep.
the sibling. My mom, after the "I'm cutting you out entirely," she sat me down at the kitchen table and she said, "You are gonna die at how much money I spend on your brother." And she did that for 13 years to get me back. And they would go on lavish trips with monkeys and post it on Facebook. Everything was like, I'm getting
Yeah, she was emotionally manipulating you to have you suffer for not doing what she
yeah,
wanted.
yeah. And I had
Wow.
to just rise above it. It's been a journey. So
You figured out, you know what? I can't. This isn't healthy for me. I'm breaking free.
but
Uncuff
You
that
know
golden hang.
when I first said that I never had to worry about anything financially,
Yeah.
that I was going to take over my parents' foundation, and I
Yeah.
gave up my entire life to do that.
Yeah.
Well, where are you when you wake up and realize it's kind of like in Wicked when Elphaba goes, um, I'm thinking Kristen Chenoweth, but the character of Galinda says, "You can go back." And she's like, "You can have everything you've always wanted." And she's like, "I know, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore because you wake up and it's like I couldn't go back because of what I knew at that moment or at this period of time. So I gave up the money but I've also given up 42 years of my life dedicated to my parents' foundation. And ironically, the name of the foundation is, well, my mother, Family Foundation. It's a family foundation. I still had 13 years that she was very present in my life, trying to hoover me back in,
Okay.
constantly trying to get me back in. And so 13 years has gone by, and my mom got dementia.
Mhm.
And picture the me slaying the dragon. I'm like having to rise up. I in the midst of all this, I had a 12-year-old daughter that tried to take her own life, probably because I was so broken as a human when my mom cut me out that I wasn't present for her because I was a shell of myself.
How old were you when you broke up from your
40
mother?
42 years old was that.
42.
I'm 55 now. So 42 was, I'm gonna wait until you see how much money I spend on your brother and you're over at this point. This whole journey of how do I make money? Okay, so there's another deep problem with this. And my mother put into my brain, you cannot survive without me and my money. You will never survive without me and my money. And that was deeply programmed in me. So shame.
Hence the people pleasing, because people pleasing is a survival.
Mhm.
What
Oh, yeah. As a little girl, it's like your needs aren't being met. You're not validated. So how do you get validation in your life? Oh, all of a sudden, if you like people please, then the doors open up. And I got the love and I got
the money to make sure you're comfortable and survive, because we need at least some basic money to survive.
I was looking at a video, an old video of me at 3 years old. So this is 1973 or 74. I'm handing my mom a flower and it's videotaped in 1973. Like, who has a video recorder back then? And she's filming me. So I'm guessing maybe she even like, okay, let's stage this.
That was the past of social media. You know how some families are like, let's record every single little thing and those happy moments. You don't, yeah.
No camera.
Well, she did, to post it, and you don't know what's behind the scenes of what the cameras say.
Yeah.
So 42, you had to technically divorce your mother, cut out of the will. I don't know how I'm going to make money now.
And
then
I have lots of blocks with it, like lots of blocks emotionally, like in my head, I'm not like my programming is you can't make money without your mom and you're not allowed to. So it's like 13 years of me trying and trying. And I was a cosmetologist for 30 years and even like going back into trying to go back to work. It's like my body wouldn't allow it. So there's this part of my healing journey is I always felt like the end of my healing journey is, can I make money? Like, I don't know if I can. So, as my mom finally, this was the straw. It was my journey is just beginning, actually. Even after 13 years of healing, my mom, last October, I visited her for her birthday. And I was really excited. I'd been studying portrait photography for 3 years, and I was coming up with this amazing concept of helping and empowering women 45 plus.
yeah,
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, this is amazing." And you got to think she's she's not in control of her life anymore. I'm cut out of everything there, medical, everything. But I was talking to her about it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, I'm really excited that there is a way that I could come back and work not for the foundation, but just be like even sponsored by the foundation because
yeah.
would have access to so many more people and then to help women 45 plus. All she has now is her camp for young girls. So I was like, we could go back to the Hawaii days of helping women who are, 50 and to 100. The Hawaii program was 18 to 100.
Got it.
So I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And my mom in dementia was like, oh, okay, well, let me, she's the CEO. Tell me all the stuff. But when I talked to her, like the person that is her that took my job, basically, and she runs the camps now. She said, Wendy, I have to tell you, your mom cut you out of the foundation permanently. So before she hit dementia, it was probably 5 years prior with all of our like stuff. She completely got me out so I could never touch it again. And it was so painful because it was the legacy of my father. It was the legacy of my life. So it's like, what do I do now? I'm moving forward. It was ageless and empowered. My passion from everything that I've done
Yeah.
and seeing my mom is helping women to feel
Yeah.
beautiful inside out.
Yeah.
And I think looking at yourself in an image, like I had a photographer, Emily London, who is just fabulous. I just have loved her, looked up to her. She said, I'd really like to do a session with you. And I said, I really lack confidence. And I'd love to see an image of me super confident. And you took the most amazing image that I can look at that image and go, wow, there it is.
Wow.
There is my, I've always been very confident, but even my mom's power of attorney says, I think your mom is jealous of you. And it's starting to come in that I don't think she ever intended for me ever to take over the foundation. I think it was all smoke and mirrors just to keep me small in that box of 10 to 18. So I would never pass her up.
Because they were competitive. And for them, it's only them. And so the fact that no matter what, you weren't going to get anything, you said, you know what? I need to
Didn't know
find
it.
my confidence. And so taking that one picture, that one moment when you're like, oh my God, I just saw myself, me that isn't an extension of my mother, but just Wendy.
No,
And
I mean, my identity. And it's
yes.
I'm rising up. And there was a book that my friend told me to read. It was called Love Money, Money Loves You.
Mhm.
And it was a really powerful book of money talking to me saying, I want you to have good things. And it's almost like God was saying, it's okay to money isn't evil, because for me, money has it equals love, and it has been very evil for me. My mom has used it against me, so I
Yeah.
almost hated the thought of it.
Yeah.
So this book really, like, I love you, and money's talking to me saying it's okay, and I want lots of amazing experiences for you. And so I'm like, money doesn't have to be scary. I can make money to help people. And I have this, like, I would love to have like even a 501(c)(3) where we're
Yeah.
going into elderly old folks homes, kind of how my mom would do all those charity projects with the
Yeah.
teenagers, and like do glamour portraits for them, and have that,
Yes.
or, like, take on, yeah, I just have so many ideas in my head of everything that I grew up with,
I love that. I
and
love
taking
that.
it for good. But I would love to just empower women through an image, and
Yes.
them to see their true potential and who they are, and if they're struggling with confidence, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're just like, I just am amazing, and I wanna see it in the pictures so posterity can see it. I'm all about legacy and leaving
Oh.
a mark on the world.
Can you share with me one of the most powerful moments where your confidence of authenticity and empowerment and your vision of legacy?
So I go in networking, trying to push myself to adult, and I go into networking, and there's a lady, and I said, "I'd love to gift you 10 images if you
Mhm.
could come into the studio." And she was a therapist, and she says, "My brand is vibrant voice, and I
Okay.
want to be a queen." And
Oh my God, yes.
I love the analogy of a queen, growing up, kind of what I was doing growing up, that eventually I was gonna be a queen, which I probably would have ended up like my mom, which is good that I wasn't that.
Oh, I love this you. The
Yeah.
authentic you.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So I created, I love to create, and so we created a queen
Nice.
out of fabric, and actually that was a very empowering.
When you go to Wendy Adamson portrait.com, I see it and I'm just like, wow, reveal the masterpiece within.
And
That,
she was like, "Oh, whoa." Oh,
yeah.
these are gonna be that good. But yeah, so you can see, like, the power within you, and with coming up, with people coming into my studio, and I wanna see myself as this. I have to tell you, my culminating healing journey was through a 501(c)(3) called Green Shoe, that I was able to go there and learn 3 really important things in my healing journey. How in survival as a trauma victim, we are in our adaptive teen mode and our little child mode. So it's
Okay.
either our little child of, like, I'm little and I don't feel safe, or adaptive teen is kind of like snarky and like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And then taking your functional adult
Yeah.
and parenting those two. So that was my aha moment of, oh, whoa. I have been living as an adaptive teen, as a victim. Like, this was not my decision. I didn't want to have to do this. Why do I have to heal? Why do I have to work? I had everything set up.
Yeah.
It's snarky. And then the little girl of, like, I'm so scared. I'm like,
Yeah.
never be able to make money. And like, you guys can't see, but I have like little puppets. And then my functional adult is loving on them, saying it's okay. And my
Yes.
functional adult is the confidence of, we've got this. and
Yes.
we are going to be okay. And
Yes.
we can be 55 and we can learn to adult. And it was interesting that this Green Shoe Foundation has adults coming in every single week. So it just shows you that a lot of us aren't parenting ourselves yet.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
building these little characters in the sandbox that we need to realize that there is that quiet, confident, very reassuring voice inside of us
Yeah.
that is our functional adult that has all the questions. And whether it's God mixed in with that, it is God and my functional adult that I view as a whole kind of helping me and guiding me along with my father died 20 years ago and my ancestor, my grandmother is like my hero. She raised me while my mom was trying to find money. She raised me for 5 months and gave me the most amazing childhood, like, in that little 5-month window.
Yeah, she was the nurturer for you that you didn't get whenever you were with your mother, and you
And my
connected with her.
ancestors, I feel like they're guiding me.
I
So
love that. I love how you were able to connect. How does people pleasing connect with unresolved trauma? You work on the parts of self that was traumatized, and you learn with the healthy self to reparent that part. And yes, is it fair? No, but it is your responsibility to learn, grow, change, heal, because after all, aren't you worth it? And you just showed I am so worthy of healing. I'm going to reparent myself because healing is so much worthy of living this life than still living in a controlled environment with a narcissistic parent.
being in that whole narcissistic, like I people pleasing and you're not taking care of yourself and waking up from that and going, wow, I can self-care. I'm like really excited to brush and floss my teeth morning and night. And like on my phone, I have this saying on my phone and it says, do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Say it again. Say it again. I
Okay,
want my audience to hear it.
do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Mhm.
So we're always people pleasing and we're not taking care of ourselves because we're trying to get validation and love from other people. And we don't want to, like, if we think about ourselves, like, then we might lose the love that we're working so hard to get. But then when you allow yourself just to say, I can put me first, kind of like being on an airplane and the flight attendant gives you the oxygen mask that you have to like take your own oxygen before you can help other people.
Yes.
It's like slow down and we can take care of ourselves. And I love how they say selfish is not it's like you're taking care of yourself first.
Selfless. Yes.
Like, I'm
Yes.
brushing my teeth and I'm, like, putting on sunscreen now.
Love
I watch
that.
my mom wear hats all the time. I mean, she was on Vogue, she was in Vogue once.
Mhm.
My mother was in Vogue, but she always wore hats, but she never told me, like, to wear sunscreen. She
Yeah.
always wrote thank you notes. She never told me to write thank you notes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can adult and I can take care of me. So
I
it's so
love that. And then having a narcissistic parent, and I know because I suffered this a lot. I was left home alone. My mom would do whatever she wanted to do, go out, be with the men. And I had to take care of my siblings. So I was stripped away of my childhood. My
uh,
siblings hated me because I had to
you
be
are mom.
yeah, and that wasn't my role. I resented, that role, but we had to survive. And
Right.
so even if I
Hard.
tried, well, how dare you not be here? I would get guilted. And so, now being an adult, so you being guilted by your mom in every which way. And as you said, it gets conditioned in the body. How does guilt trap a woman in these self-sacrificing roles now that we're moms? Mom guilt, we have to sacrifice ourselves for our children. And when do we start putting us first? From your experience, how does guilt trap women in
Oh,
these
it's so interesting.
self-sacrificing roles?
How does guilt trap us in self-sacrificing roles? Is that
Yes, yes,
okay? Well, I had
yes.
written out as something like this just came to my mind. How does guilt trap us? in my situation, I I had to ask myself, what do I have to gain? What would I lose if I left? Like, those
Mm.
were the things inside that kept me in those self-sacrificing roles, and those were the answers that trapped me. And you have to be willing and brave to shatter the glass walls, and you have to be willing to lose everything. So I heard this metaphor that it's like you feel trapped and you know that you are, and it's like, what do you do? I took a sledgehammer and I just didn't care, and I just smashed every wall around me. So it's that's a tough one when you think
Yeah,
like
guilt is
feel
something.
trapped.
Guilt and shame, just those two emotions, like shame on you for putting you first, and you should feel guilty. How dare you? And I love the metaphor that you said.
You have to be willing to love yourself and love yourself enough to take care of yourself and not allow the outside voices. Oh, okay, so I have this saying that I have in my head all the
Mm.
time of my top 5 values:
Okay.
personal growth and spiritual awareness, trusting myself, feeling safe with myself,
Yeah.
being of service, and then becoming personally and financially responsible. And this is a big one, detaching from the needs and opinions of others.
Ah,
And like everything I do in my life, I think of those values and I go, okay, am I being personally responsible? Am I being of service? But detaching from the needs and opinions of others, oh, it's tough. It's
Oh,
tough.
now not only do you have your mother there, but you also have society and programming, and we
Yep.
have all these things. And this season, my daughter was looking for bathing suits. She's 15, by the way, going on 16. And
Boy.
she goes, "Mother, the bikini bottoms are getting shorter and shorter. They used to they used to have like more to cover the booty." And she's like, "Mom, it's like, no." And it's and I was like, "Why don't they make the men like that? The men have their, briefs or trunks, and why are they doing this with women? I don't like it." And I go, "I know, honey, that's society programming, and I thank you for acknowledging that, and you don't have to put up with that. We're going to find something." So,
You
yeah.
know what I love is like coming up with your own identity is, I like vintage and I'm gonna wear this cute vintage, Marilyn Monroe kind of thing. I love creating identity that we don't have to be
Yeah.
like everyone else, and it's okay.
Yes, yes. And it starts when you're small. And unfortunately, I didn't have that. You didn't have that. But this is where, the little kids, they're wanting to wear cowboy boots with their ballet outfit. My 7-year-old, and because I didn't have that. And so I want them to find their identity. I don't care what age. She was gonna have a crown. And she's like, "I'm gonna wear my boss suit." She's into suits, and I think she gets that from me because I love suits. But she's picking her
Support
own
her channel.
colors. He likes to be empowered, and this is my baby. And I was like, "You wanna wear your boss suit? Wear your boss suit." And so she wore her black suit, red tie, and she's walking in confidently doing her crown. And the other ones too, she wants to wear 2 braids and just there for her top hair. And I was like, "Fine." The other one wants to do her own thing, make her own clothes, go for it. But it starts when you're small. And then when parents go, "No, you can't wear that because we have to go to the party, or we have to be looking like this." Do whatever you want. I don't care. There are some non-negotiables. I tell them, let's negotiate. You do need to wear shoes, but let's see what shoes we can negotiate. So this is where we work on that. We still acknowledge them, but also they know that we need to follow some guidelines.
I
Yeah.
think it's so neat that this new generation has, I mean, we didn't have the social media to learn about narcissism or people pleasing or anything like that, but they are learning it. We're all on TikTok learning it and everyone's learning it. But we, even as adult parents, we can parent our kids
Yeah.
better and let them grow and be amazing humans and
Yeah.
shaping and paving the new generation.
Hopefully, God willing, yes. So I
Very-
love your journey. It's like, okay, I was controlled, manipulated, gaslighted. I became aware of it. I decided no more, enough. I'm healing and finding myself. What helped you begin setting boundaries after all of this?
Boundaries has been very interesting. I've learned a lot through Brene Brown, but
I love Brene Brown.
yeah, she's been amazing work. My best metaphor for a boundary that really helps me,
Okay.
and I had a therapist have me think this up, is you're sitting in your beautiful garden and there's like an 18-foot fence around,
Yeah.
and you get to sit in your garden and make it as beautiful as possible. So I have like little waterways and, beautiful flowers. It's your imagination, so you can go wild. And then there's a big door. And then that door is, you can allow people in or out, and that's your thing. When I was at Green Shoe, it was a place for me to tell my mom that what she did was wrong. It was shameful, and I'm not taking on what she did.
Yeah.
And I said, it's very hard as an adult to walk away from my mother. And she's cut me out of medical directive, and I have there's nothing on paper that I can even do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can I walk away? And they said, absolutely. And that's a weird boundary,
Yeah.
a very weird boundary. So there are boundaries of like doing nice things for people. I recently had a friend come in and I said, I want to help you with posing. And so I'm helping her with posing and noticing on social media all of her content. And I'm like, oh boy, she looks like me. And I'm thinking, what is the boundary here? Do I have to give everything to everybody? I don't.
No, you
You
don't.
you need to listen to that little voice inside of your head when it
Yeah.
says, maybe you shouldn't have done that, and let's learn from that, and let's like next time, you don't have to help everybody.
Yes, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
And
I
there
love
there
that.
is that parenting, that
Yes,
little
with
voice.
compassion and love, and you're doing that to yourself. I
Yeah.
love that. And working and learning and growing and setting boundaries, and that's really what it is.
Yeah.
What message would you share with women who are still struggling, kind of teeter-tottering? They're in the middle, not quite there yet, not yet becoming who they are, but they know something is up and wrong. What message would you want to share with them?
My biggest takeaway, and the thing that has made me heal the most, is meditation.
Mm.
And, when I first started meditation, it was Oprah Winfrey just saying something about meditation. And I sat down and I just thought it was the craziest, weirdest thing ever. And I'm like, I can't do this. 13 years later,
Wow.
meditate every single day. And I've gotten up to like 2 hours. So it is definitely a muscle.
Mhm.
And all it is, there is no woo-woo hype, whatever. All it is slowing your brain down. And even if you can sit for 3 minutes and just concentrate on breathing in and out, what it's doing every single day, you're building that muscle that when that person comes at you and you normally flare up, when you're doing a constant meditative practice, it gives you a split second that you can slow down, observe what is happening before you lash out. And the more I've meditated, the more that has become a superpower. And there's one other thing that has really helped me. Being a trauma survivor, I'm a big, humongous empath, and I feel the emotions of everyone. And I read a book once that you need to imagine your inner core is like a tower,
Okay.
and you imagine inside all these doors that are normally open, shut. And inside you hear them going choo, 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 choo. And it goes all the way up your body. And that is almost like a meditative practice to practice putting up that shield.
Yeah.
If you do that daily, you would get into a situation where a husband or a kid, I mean, my kids used to yell at me and trigger me, that if you were imagining those walls shutting and all the doors and you are just safe inside in this like pillar of light, of peace, of
Oh,
happiness, it really, the more you do that, you will get very strong in those
I love how
situations.
you said that. Resilience is a mental muscle, just like going to the gym. You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So practice that mental muscle. I love.
Same with your boundary inside beautiful garden. Practice not opening the door and like stepping and waiting and saying, is this gonna help me, hurt me? And it's not selfish to say no.
It's loving to say no sometimes. Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Say
there's
it
one other
yourself.
book,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Mastery of Self-Love by
Oh,
Don
yeah.
Miguel Ruiz.
Ruiz.
Yeah.
Yes. Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And the four agreements. So
Yes, and the
yes.
four agreements.
Yes. You know, Wendy, your work has been truly a gift for anyone listening who feels moved by your story and wants to connect with you. Where can they find your work and how can they become a part of your community?
Oh, right now I'm Wendy Adamson Portrait. You can always message me there. Follow me on Wendy Adamson Portrait and
At Instagram at Wendy Adamson Photography.
Wendy Adamson Portrait.
Love that. I always like to close with two questions because I love to hear from my guests. What is your personal definition of an empowered woman?
Wow. What is the definition of what an empowered woman is? Oh my gosh, that is such a question. Oh, wow. My perfectionist kicks in. Because I would want to say being true to yourself.
Yes.
Being balanced.
Yes.
It's self-care. It's detaching from the needs and opinions of others. It's no matter what anybody else says, does, that you are true to yourself. It's the empowered woman. Oh, is parenting your adaptive teen and your little
Yes.
child. That's an empowered woman to like to being a giraffe of is my
Yes.
power animal to rise above the situation and be above the trees and see everything, observe it, and kind of take things slowly, not reactive.
Yeah.
There's layers to being an empowered woman.
That was beautiful. Let's imagine in the future everything about who you are, your work, your story, your legacy has been lost due to unforeseen, uncontrollable circumstances. But 3 generations from now, a single handwritten letter is discovered by a young woman in your family line, a great 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 granddaughter or grandniece, and it's the only piece of you that remains. What message of truth, strength, guidance would you leave in that letter to help her and the women who come after her further progress of women empowering themselves and other women in your family?
Wow, that's really powerful. Wow. I would say be true to yourself to make sure that putting yourself first and cultivating your own identity is very important so you have a strong sense of self, because once you have strength in yourself and you love yourself, then you are more powerful to help the world. And no matter if people are tearing you down, if you have self-love for yourself, you won't have to worry about anybody else. And you will realize that that is their problem and not your problem. You are loved by you, by God, by the universe, by whatever you want to call it. And you, once you do that, you have so much good and love to give to the world, and that is the most important thing, is to love others, to love yourself, to love family, and to love your past legacy that we're all rooting you on.
Oh my God, I love it. That was so beautiful. Next podcast episode, part 3, both of you together. Thank you for being here with us and for showing us what it means to just rise from the pain and into purpose and to use your voice and your vision to lift other women up. And to all of you listening, remember you deserve to reconnect with your radiant self. And just like Wendy says, your story deserves to be celebrated. Next episode, we bring all together, joining us, part 3, where Wendy and her husband, Shane, return together to talk about healing, love, supporting each other's growth through the journey of authenticity and empowerment. And until next time.
Thanks for listening to Empowering Women in Conversations. This conversation has ended, but your journey to empowerment continues. Please share with someone you know who will find this conversation helpful and inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until our next empowered conversation with your host, licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval. And remember, we are brave, we are strong, we are compassionate, we are women empowered. Go out there and claim your power.